Of course, this provides opportunity not only to China but also to countries in this region as well, Thailand included. So how do you think that countries like Thailand and ASEAN should respond to what China is planning to do? As you mentioned, that it will focus more on the digitalization and the so-called intelligentization. So Thailand, of course, certainly will don't want to miss the boat. But how can a country like Thailand make the best use out of this situation?
A very good question, Kuntep Chai. And I must say that, in Chinese, the term, the character crisis, right, Wei Ji, it composes of the first character, which is the crisis, the danger, and then the second character, which is the opportunity. So I think that, in dealing with crisis, we also have to strategize. And I mentioned earlier that China, when they're thinking about COVID-19, they have one dimension, which is to stabilize the economy, to deal with short-term effect. But they also have the long-term strategy in building basic foundation and infrastructure for the development of new technologies. And they even use the incident, the COVID-19, as a pressure to transform most sectors of the economy. During the SARS crisis, back in 2003, China uses this as an opportunity, right, to promote e-commerce. And I think that the e-commerce giants, Alibaba, JD.com, they all have history of big massive growth from the SARS period. The key here is also not just to do it just during the short term or just do it through other people's platform, but how can we strategize, build our own platforms, build our own infrastructure during this crisis in order to build the long-term foundation for the use of all these technologies.
You live in China for a while and you also study in the US. How do you think the position of China and the US in the world will be changed after COVID-19?
This poses great challenges to the world economy in the short term. First, to the Chinese economy, I think that the external shock will be huge. So even right now, when they start to recover from their pain of closing down businesses during the past 2 months, but still, the export sector, the global market is still not very optimistic. And then, we see all the global depression happening right now because of the economic situation all over the world. In terms of the geopolitical effect from this global crisis, I think that we still have to wait and see. First, how will the US manage and recover from this crisis? But I think at least one thing is quite sure is that we are seeing perhaps the end of American global dominance. Perhaps not the end of the US as the world superpowers. The US will be one of the world superpowers, but we see other superpowers sharing the US stage, including China, including Europe, including Russia and many other countries. And I think we see clearly from this pandemic that we don't see much of the US leadership, US global leadership in fighting the pandemic. And I think US is still struggling with its own domestic problem right now too.
Yeah. The pandemic is certainly adding another negative turn to the Chinese-American relationship, right? And as we all know, the US, President Trump, to be more specific, is trying to hold China accountable for the outbreak of the virus. And this certainly has added a new dimension to their rivalry. So, Dr. Am, how do you think this will play out in their relationship long term?
Kuntep Chai, we see that nationalism plays a big role in both countries. So we see that President Trump, he mentioned that it's China's virus. He stopped doing that right now. But actually, even from the Chinese side, the official in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China also actually posted a Twitter saying that there's a possibility that the virus came from the US. So both sides play this nationalistic card, and I think that China also emphasized to its public its success in containing the virus, and the US failure in containing the virus right now. While President Trump, also play upon this nationalistic sentiment, we will see the rise of nationalism and nationalistic sentiments in both countries, and especially in the US. The context is that the national election is coming at the end of the year. One of the Trump's strong point is his use of all these nationalistic sentiments to build upon his base. And I think that for President Xi Jinping also, to tackle domestic challenges, he also needs to play up the nationalistic card. So I think that what we see, at least in the middle term, is the rise of nationalism in both countries.